Did you want to go or do you want me to go?
Well, you start.
Okay. Well, it's your page, so I didn't know, but hello, thank you, Andres, for giving me a second interview. I really appreciate this. I've been watching links again for days, and you're just gonna house me on this language, and I'm just gonna ask you beforehand to please just bear with me. I'm gonna do the best I can to give a decent interview, but yeah, I love your interactions. I've been watching your Q and A's, and there's a lot of great stuff there. Um, as far as the totality of existence is concerned, is it confined to this conversation right now? What is happening right here, right now? Is this apparent here and now? Is this the totality of existence?
Well, yes and no. That's hard to say because when you say, is it the totality of existence? It sounds as if it's something that's somehow, yeah, limited or something to this. But on the one hand, this is all there is. On the other hand, it's no thing, which is boundless.
Yes, and that's kind of where I'm at. I know that a lot of people use whole and complete. I do myself. I use it all the time. Um, but whole and complete describe a thing, doesn't it?
Well, whole and complete, it doesn't really describe a thing. It's not meant in a physical sense, like this is everything, whole and complete. Whole and complete is rather pointing to that there is no deeper or hidden reality or no value or sense or meaning within what happens. In that sense, it's complete. It's whole and complete.
In the sense that as the words are spoken or as what appears to happen, it is as it is,
Yeah.
and so anything to try to describe what is already whole and complete is already too late because it's already because as the words are being spoken, it's already gone. It's already something else. So it's already something else before it gets processed. But that is an interesting thing. The processing of what seems or what appears. Now there is no one. What appears for no one and no thing. I understand it comes from nothing. It goes to nowhere. Um, Along that line, though, the two of us having this conversation appear to have not only wills, but we appear to have free will. It seems that way. That whatever you want to say about that, we have this illusion within an illusion about free will, and we think we it just seems even if you want to believe in separation, it's not true. But even in this context, there obviously is no free will because it has nothing to do with that. So I mean that's already the illusion of the story of an individual. Blah blah blah. So what I'm saying is, I see this world coming uh, through this enterprise of a Howard thing. Yeah, I know it's not a Howard, but it is the appearance of Howard. And so in this particular fine point of it seems like the illusionary free will of Howard and what is already whole and complete seem to merge into some kind of you know some kind of observation or something that's observer observed. And though I know that that is illusionary, it's difficult to discuss, what exactly it means to be the eyes of the world, so to speak, because though it is no one and that is illusionary, it does appear, Andres, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but it does appear as if you likewise had this veneer of subject object. You process observer observed, or do you not? Or you appear to?
Well, I would say I don't, because liberation, apparent liberation, kind of is really the melting away of that illusory impression. That sounds weird, but I'm sorry, I can't really,
Yeah.
I can't do
Yeah.
it better. So, and when you say that it appears, I would rather say it's what apparently happens, that I'm just functioning normally, and that it seems that we speak about subject, object, and about processes and stuff.
Mhm.
But when you say it appears that way, I know it's about words, but
Mhm.
it doesn't really appear like that for anyone. So it's not that it seems as if there is object, but somewhere deep down I understand that it's not. No, in liberation, this whole experience of an objectified reality just collapses. And it would
Yes.
only appear that way for something or someone. So for me, for me, so to speak, there is no appearance of subject object. It just is what apparently happens. You, me, talking, listening, whatever.
How does that process work for you? For as you said, you, me, talking. Like, how does that process work for Andres? What I'm trying to get at is, there is no subject. I mean, there is no system or mechanism insofar as what I consider spontaneous, and
Mm.
it's free and it's wild. It's anarchy and chaos, but it's also already whole and complete, seemingly happening simultaneously, for lack of a better wording. But in that appearance is the two of us having a conversation, and as you said, you, me, having this conversation. So what I'm trying to get at is there's no way to get to you personally as a speaker, but I'm trying to kind of see if I can't get you to allude to what the process of subject object conversation appears like to you, because everybody say within this within this kind of way of looking at things, and this everybody seems to be that one no person, right? So every appearance is going to take away, theoretically. I mean, I know that it is just me, right? But I'm asking you, how's it for you? And right, and though it's an illusion, there is that illusionary process of a self that is aware of the world. And what I'm trying to get at is kind of like a personalization of how that might appear to Andreas as he's appearing to talk to appearances. You know,
Mm. Who?
how does the thought process and perception work for you? I mean, how does that seem in that internal
Yeah, I think
illusion?
I understand the question somehow, but I'm very sorry, but there is really no answer to that, because it's exactly that which cannot be answered. And I know I know that's not what you wanted to hear, so to speak. You thought that there is,
I had braced myself for this. I
it's
knew
not
that you were
it's
going
not
there.
what you wanted to hear, but I honestly have no clue. I can't say how it functions. I can't even say how it happens. And I can't even make up a story about it, like how it apparently is for me or something to perceive, to sit here, to speak to you, to think, because that exactly is the unknown. And this is not
Oh,
just some theoretical conceptual stuff. No, it's really
no.
completely unknown. I'm not.
Well, I know that I don't think that there is I mean, I don't think that there is a mechanism or a system. I don't think that there is any way. It doesn't work that way. I mean, there is not a successive event
That's
that makes.
that's the thing. There isn't even the perception of there being a system working, or of this mechanism, Andreas, and thoughts and
uh,
feelings going on. So yes,
Well, I'm
the
talking
funny
about the
thing.
spawn. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir, please.
Yeah, the funny thing is, in a very funny way, this is all there is. This undivided thoughts, feelings, body, speaking, listening, feeling, seeing you, and stuff like that. On the other hand, it's really completely unknown why
I like
it
that.
happens.
I like that. I agree completely because it seems, whole and complete and completely unknowable simultaneously and spontaneously and sourcelessly just kind of appearing all together. And there's this weird, kind of flowing in and out of, this is the drunk language. I'm just being, just trying to talk, it's just a little flowy, but what I'm saying is that there seems to be a flowing in and out of understanding insofar as sometimes it seems uh, far more archaic, far more elementary or easy, in that it seems like it's just subject object, and then at other times it's not so much. I think there was something that you were saying in one of your links that I was very surprised and glad to hear, but talking about glimpses and how glimpses you characterize them as holes in the appearance of the story. And I thought that that was probably about as much as I ever heard you actually expand on that. Could you touch on that again? I mean, do you feel like getting into that kind of, because I
Hmm.
know it's a little, it's I know I'm pushing the the subject object thing and all of that, and I don't mean
No, that's fine.
to.
I mean, first of all, glimpses in that sense are what apparently happens. They aren't real, so to speak. But
Right.
what seems to be happening is, or at least it seems to be possible, that this sense of I am, when it happens, it somehow can almost collapse totally for a while, so to speak. This would be the
I agree.
story. And before that, so to speak, in the person's life, in the apparent person's life, there only seems to be me as the only known reality.
Yeah.
And then I know I myself had a few of them, and I know many people who had one of those. For no reason at all, in a way. There was
Yeah.
just no one there.
Yeah.
And for many people, this seems to have a huge impact.
Hmm.
This no one being there seems to be so different in a glimpse than to being a person, so to speak. And the whole personal dilemma and all the seeking and the personal burden is gone for a moment, but a
Hmm.
timeless moment, so to speak, because
Hmm.
it's not really a moment. In that moment there is no time, there is no experience and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Well, what seems to be happening also is that most people, so to speak, seem to survive it.
Hmm.
And that what turns it into a glimpse, so to speak.
Hmm.
And then they are back. And energetically, I would say for many people, this glimpse is like a slap in the face.
Hmm.
Or it's like having a tree, that's the me, and if you rip it out of the ground for a second, but then leave it back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Many people, the me in a way becomes unrooted, or the me, the separate energy.
Right.
And I know many people for whom the seeking started afterwards. I mean, before that there was also seeking, but rather in money and stuff like that. But I know many people who had a glimpse out of the blue, so to speak, and afterwards they really wanted to know what that was, because
Yeah.
it seemed to have been so different from their daily experience before.
Yeah. And that would be the story of the individual and the incomprehensible, whatever it means. I mean, there's as far as like seeking, insofar as
Oh, you turned your sound off. I can't hear you anymore. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry, I had a phone call. Um, Yes. So for me, it just seemed like no matter what I looked at after after my shift, no matter what I looked at, it really it's the difference between shooting a bullet and throwing it. No information came close to what I had experienced, quote unquote. And what I'm getting at here is it gets to be kind of it's ultimately you're not looking for any kind of explanation. You can seek, and it's fun to look into all kinds of disinformation, take classes, do whatever you like to do, is insofar as being interested in different categories of information. But there is ultimately no knowledge of this, and no way to describe it. There's no way to even talk about it. It's ridiculous.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's also interesting. That's also funny, with a glimpse, so to speak, or with an apparent glimpse, that often people know, so to speak, they had a glimpse, or people know, so to speak, like this, that there was no one. But when you ask them to describe how it actually was, so to speak, how was it in the glimpse, they
Mhm.
can't say anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there was no one there who experienced it.
The levels of it's fascinating because it appears as if we're two separate points in time and space communicating information. And then we're talking about something that we're saying that time and space doesn't exist on its face. That this is not a dimension, and none of this is actual. There is no subject or object. This is the story of such, blah blah blah. And this is the glimpse that showed me how it was X amount of years ago or whatever within the story. And then you're saying that or I say everybody says the story. I'm just saying how ridiculous it is, and that so we're appearances talking about how time and space doesn't exist, and then we talk about how there's a past which doesn't exist, and then how we left time and space, which we're already saying is not real, and then all of that stuff, thinglessness occurred. For me, it was kind of like an evaporation of every particle that just it's just gone into nothing, and
Hmm.
like nothing. Yeah, it's impossible to describe. And I could say a million words about it and never get it. But the thing about it is, so then you somehow come back, and now here we are. We find ourselves back in this apparent reality, and so it's so ridiculous on its face. It's dream within a dream within a dream without a foundation. There's no way to accurately discuss it.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're totally right. I mean, there's just nothing. There's just nothing really going on. It's so funny because this whole thing, there is no. Yes, you know.
Well, it's like a thin. To me, it, I'll try it this way. It's a thin veneer. It's so thin that it's not even really there. In that everything seems real and unreal. It's almost like somebody moved all my furniture when I was out of the house and put it back in the exact same spot it was in before I left. I don't, I
That's a
don't know.
funny picture. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Totally. Yes.
So yeah, it's this thin veneer that appears as if it holds depth, like the story, the thinnest veneer of all time, and yet it appears to contain the story of a universe that began time and space dimensions, 100 or what, however many billions of light years ago, and all of that story. And they're talking about the deep time and all this stuff, the depth of some kind of linear chain of events that goes this way, but yet it's so thin you can't even really put it on a timeline. You know, in that.
Absolutely.
Please, anytime. I know I'm talking too much, and anytime you want to interject, I get excited. I get overly excited and just start yammering off. But yeah, this is so. I've listened to so many of your links. And one thing about your particular style is it's just brutal to the seeker insofar as just there's nothing there. I mean, there's just nothing. I mean, there's just not a crumb. There's not a drop of water. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard for a seeker. I mean, if you've never had a glimpse, or if the glimpse scares you, or something like that, or anything like that, if you literally want to know about what uh, non-duality is, unconditional non-duality, and you come to Andreas Müller, and you think that you exist in time and space. I'm trying to put myself in the seeker's mind, and it's just brutal. I mean, it's amazing. You have this group of people that is, I love them. It's brutal.
Mm.
It's they're. I love the. I heard this one the other day. This guy was so serious. Um, he was talking about the children and how schooling was bad, and how everybody.
Mm.
I thought for a second he had the wrong meaning, but then he was saying, but this doesn't help. You're not helping. I need to. It's like as if he came to you to find out how to raise his children in public school. I thought, have you ever been here before?
Yes, I know. Yeah, I even remember. Yes, I even remember. I mean, the thing is, the person or the seeker. That's what I know. I mean, yeah, that's not what's going on here. But in one way, the seeker just desperately longs for a real answer to its seemingly real and serious problems. So it can happen that at some point there is just this disappointment, but also frustration and anger, saying like, "Hey, man, you don't help at all. What's this about?
well,
It's.
well,
I thought this is useful, and now it turns out it totally isn't. What is this
yeah,
about?" So
yeah,
yeah, and
but
I remember
and
he
then
got a bit angry,
oh,
but
he did. He got a little snippy. I thought it was funny as but and so did some of your other friends, or some of the other people there. And but the thing about it is, though, it does seem to help some of the other appearances. There were people laughing and having a great time, and it kind of broke. It was kind of levity, but
yeah,
at the
I remember there were actually someone joking, making a good joke about it. I
oh
remember.
man,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, that was actually pretty classic, and it makes me think about you know uh, how should I don't know how to put this, but it's um, insofar as starving the seeker um, and that style. It seems to be it does seem to work though for a tremendous amount of people, in that they for some reason or another, even if they don't understand it, they keep coming back and they're trying to understand it. And and understanding isn't what's happening, and that just appears to happen, and all that kind of. It's like an unknowing in that. Um, would you agree that knowledge, other than the apparent knowledge in which the two of us appear to be sharing an existence, where you and I could, talk about photography, and you could tell me how to take a picture, and I can tell you, how to ride a motorcycle or something. That kind of knowledge exists in the appearance of this reality. However, the actual knowledge of the subjects that we're talking about doesn't exist at all, does it?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with knowledge. And with knowledge, I don't only mean conceptual knowledge, I also mean kind of experiential knowledge. That's also knowledge. So
Yeah.
the person understanding conceptually, so to speak, would just be one method, one idea how it could be understood. But of course, what the seeker actually wants is to know it deeper from the inside, so to speak. That what we talk about, wholeness and whatever, becomes its known and conscious experience, and that too is impossible. But it's hard to describe. I sometimes say what we talk about just is the case. It's so ordinary, it's so normal, it's so not separate that you can't even be aware of it or experience it. But as you say, there is absolutely no knowledge involved, not even the experiencing of it.
Well, the tether to, and I know I've gone over this before. And this is where I kind of get personal, or I talk to this. I give a crumb to the seeker. At least people that come to me. Usually they're fed up and then can't figure out what you guys are saying. So, and I'll give them a crumb, and I'll say, and I'll tell them about the lack of an objective truth, the lack of a tether to an objective reality. In that, there is no way to validate the story of a physical brain that exists in time and space. And then I can go through the logical, rundown of why that is. There simply is no way to know objectively your source for thought and your source of perception, your source of memory, your source of sensation. Most people think it's sensation goes to brain, goes to process, mind, self, blah blah, conscious awareness. Whereas what I try to tell them is that no, it's actually the appearance of that. It's the appearance of a nervous system. It's the appearance of a brain turning into mind, growing to self, and then trying to validate itself. It's not senses first. It's the appearance of senses, and so and to show them why that story of mind, self, brain does not have a tether to a material reality. You cannot know it. And so from that position, try to allude to the tetherlessness of thought itself. Like, so now it's not so much everything just appearing to happen, but thought itself is the appearance of sensation and perception and memory, is the appearance of what seems to be this here and now. And then you get into, and this is one that I was wanting to talk to you about, you get into a paradox of, okay, well then, let's say people will say, well, awareness is all that, is it all that can be? Because if it's outside of awareness, then it's not happening. But see, then you get the situation is this. On the one hand, it feels like maybe this is a bag of things, and in this bag of things is an Andreas that thinks he thinks, or a Howard that thinks he thinks, and is aware of the other things in the bag. So this room, this immediate experience, appears as if there's another object from the position of, say, instead of thinking of it as I am aware of everything in this bag of immediate experience, it's more of there is an object with a bunch of other objects, except for this object thinks he thinks and thinks he is aware. And that is just the nature of that object, the apparent conscious awareness of the other objects in the bag or the room or whatever it is, immediate experience. So the paradox would be, would the appearance continue without the individual, without the apparent individual? Okay, does existence continue without the awareness of the apparent individual? Does the apparent does the
That's the
appearance
thing.
of
There
the
is no.
appearance of existence
That's the thing.
without the apparent awareness of the individual?
Well, that's the thing. There is no answer to this. Yeah, there's no answer to this because the question already implies that there was an existence when there was the me or the awareness. The thing is that even then there was no existence because all of that wasn't existing. It was just seemingly existent, so to speak, which is illogical or which can't be understood, but it never became manifest. It never became substantial. So the question about is something going on afterwards can't be answered. Because here, for example, since there is no one, so to speak, there is not the impression of something still going on. I know one could say it seems like the me dropped, but the Andreas body, so to speak, still goes on functioning and talking to people and stuff like that. But there's absolutely no experience of this being something that goes on.
Yes.
So
Yes. So we can't know, for example, if we're hitching a ride on what seems like an already, something that was already, how, however you want to say that, we can't know if this is if we're just borrowing awareness through our apparent time within this story. So it's weird. It's almost like the story itself. You can kind of use the analogy of a library in that you don't know if this is the only book or if there's an entire library of books. Like, is there a library of other kind of types of stories? And this is something you can't know, right?
yeah, exactly. Because in the end, the story starts with there being one book. The
Yes.
thing is, if you assume there to be one certain book, one certain happening, one certain reality, this opens up the theoretical possibility for there being other books too, other kinds of realities. But
Infinite.
but in
Yeah.
the end, what's being said here is that there isn't even one kind of reality. There isn't even one certain story happening. The whole impression or the whole paradigm of there being existence, whatever this existence is supposed to look like or to be like, is already part of the dream. Because the whole sense of existence is only the person itself. But when the sense of existence turns out to be illusory, there isn't even one story left. There isn't even one certain happening left.
Right. And so, and like to say seekers or your audience, um, anybody that watches or talks to you can basically, it's very simply a dream within a dream, without foundation. I mean, however you want to say that, you can call it a story, but like, as you said, it's a story for, from nowhere to nothing, and there's no foundational place to say whether yes or no. It is both yes and no,
Yeah.
and neither yes and no.
Yes.
I mean, literally, words just stop meaning anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Totally. Of course. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I, because I've been, like I said, I've been listening to your links, and I love your stuff, and I understand what how you go about doing this, and it's beautiful, and I understand what you mean, and I agree. Um, I focus on another kind of way because it's just easier for me, but drunken language aside, but the thing about it is as I was watching, I'm like, there's no, I mean, how am I going to come up with a decent interview? How am I going to talk to this guy who clearly, it's not even, there's just no way to do it without being incorrect. But
Well,
well, correct and
well,
incorrect
well. This
simultaneously.
also applies to my answers, of course. I also can't answers without being incorrect. I mean,
Well, how about this? Because a friend of mine, asked me to ask you, and I said that was tricky. I don't want to, because it's just not your style to talk personally. So what I'm going to say is, how about this? Uh, I mean, it's just I don't know if I should even do that. Yeah,
now
I
I
don't know.
get now I get really curious.
Well, it's like, okay, let's say that are you interested in sports?
If I'm into sports,
Are you interested in sports?
well, not really.
Okay. Well, so what I'm trying to, are you interested in anything in particular besides talking about non-duality?
Well, that's the thing. Um, You just before, not really, of course, but but I'm not really even interested in talking about non-duality. Yeah, honestly, I know it looks different, so it seems to be different, but no, I'm not really interested in doing that. It just is what apparently happens.
Right.
And besides that, I seem to be interested in a lot of things in a way. I I follow the news. I even follow sports a little bit. I'm quite interested here and there and there and there, but I don't have a topic, so to speak, where I'm deeply interested in. I'm just
I'm very much the same way. I just pick and choose stuff that just kind of interests me in the day. I'm interested in one thing or another. I was talking about,
exactly just what comes and goes and stuff like that.
yeah. Somebody asked me about the end of entropy this morning, and I ended up sharing some Walter Penrose links, and there's this model about scalelessness. He's beautiful because he's got all the degrees in everything from cosmology to quantum physics to consciousness, and he just talks about scalelessness, and it's fascinating. It's not at all what we're talking about. He's a materialist or realist, a scientist, but if you want to look at entropy or a scaleless model as opposed to the Big Bang, Walter Penrose, CCC, cyclical. It's fascinating, but I mean, obviously, it's just riddled with, immediately the beautiful thing about Penrose, and I've said this before, but the beautiful thing about a lot of these brilliant minds is that they will preface anything they say with like immediate look. We have to agree that this is real before this is where we're going to start this assumption. You
Yes,
know what I mean? And I
exactly,
always,
totally, of
but
course.
the people blow right over that, and I'm like, look, do you understand what he just said? This is an agreement that we're starting here. It's not real. Say
Yes,
that.
absolutely. Oh, you're totally right. That's what the me does. It starts with itself as I'm given, not
Exactly.
consciously or something. Whatever happens, I'm given, which means reality is given. And from that on, the personal life starts and everything starts. And you're
And
right.
then,
It's already completely dreamt.
yeah, there's no tether to any objective material reality and to any of that story. So anything that appears, we can, within the shareable, testable reality that appears to be the same context that we're having this conversation in, there's gravity and blah, 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 blah. It appears, say, within that story. And so, theoretically, again, using loose
Yeah.
language, but within that parameter, is or within that context we have this shareable reality, and the one shareable truth that that i that I think we can share is that there is no objective truth. And so that is the only thing that ties us as within the context of this Q&A, kind of like balloons tied to each other at the string and just floating. We can kind of, yes, okay, we're agreeing that this appears to be a rocket going to Mars. This appears to be an exploding star. This appears to be quantum physics, which is completely blah blah blah, and all of these things that we can look at them and everything, but we can never objectively verify that it's actual, that it's real.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And of course, even the agreement is apparent.
Yes, and even and well, right off the bat, there's absolutely no tether to a reality in any context, and that is what I like to try to tell some folks, and every now and again, somebody gets it, and that's just the way I do it. But it's or the way I try to do it. But I love doing it, and I love that it's within that shareable, testable reality, and that it kind of personalizes, you know, selflessness. I mean, because now there's no source to what makes you think you are who you are. There's no tether to a source for all of the perception, the memory, all of that stuff, sensation, and which is for me, it's just such a relief. You have no responsibility to what appears to be going on. Like as the individual is going about their day, um, you could fade in and out of, how real or unreal that appears, but what seems like Howard is thinking about this or that or the other, or Howard's getting mad, I can actually, in a way, just kind of like sit back with my head completely empty and watch Howard kind of operate. And a lot of times, that's kind of what I've always done. It's a weird. It's not even meditation because you're not really thinking. You're not thinking at
mm,
all.
mm,
It's not even you doing anything.
mm,
And the more you realize how empty your how little you're needed in that process of mind, self, brain, conscious awareness, you're not even there. You can just watch it happen, and it's almost, it's I don't know. It's gotten as far as like I could watch myself just kind of operate, and it's completely natural, and it's not like really hard to do, but that's I don't know. I know it's getting way far away from what you say or from your style, but I see it as personally. I see it as simultaneous in that it appears as if an individual is actually free and interacting with their environment, and it's already whole. But
mm. It's
and
undivided. It's undivided, but that's what seemingly happens. Totally.
yeah, and you can, and even further still, you can sit back and kind of just watch it happen, and even that is, again, just kind of what appears to be going on within layers and layers. But yeah, well, thank you, man. I was kind of, some of these things I didn't want to, I didn't want to say too much because I didn't know how you were going to react. I know some
Mm,
people, some of the speakers that I talk to are extremely unreceptive. I mean, they're just very regimented, and no, it's no, just no, 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 up and down the line, and you're being really accommodating and very, very generous, and I appreciate it. But
Thank you very much. Thanks for the
is,
invitation.
oh, forget about it. I mean, I mean, forget about it. You're just doing me such a huge favor, because I love your stuff, and I'm just grateful. But do you mind if I continue a little bit, or do you gotta
Oh
go?
no, no, I have time. We can go
Okay.
on. Yeah.
Is there anything other than appearance? Like, for example, I know in one way you could say that there's no even appearances. I mean, is there anything? I'll just ask it simply and allow you to do your thing. Is there anything other than appearances?
Well, as you said, I wouldn't even say that there are appearances, but all there is what apparently happens, which isn't appearing and falling away, so to speak. It's more like nothing's coming and going. But yes, all there is what apparently happens. But this doesn't really say anything because it's
You
boundless.
can't describe it. You can't define it,
It's the
right?
thing. It's boundless. It's unknowable. It's not this moment. I think that's a common misconception. Saying that's what apparently happens. The person thinks that's what's appearing, thinking that it's coming into existence, appearing and falling away. All there is what's appearing and what's falling away, and this would kind of be too physical. That's not really how it's meant
Yeah, yeah.
because nothing is really appearing. Nothing
Mm,
is coming into
mm,
existence, not even as an appearance. So, what apparently happens is real and unreal at the same time, but there is no coming and going in that. So,
mm. I'm gonna push my luck. Have you? Has it ever felt like there was a kind of a communication of sorts that did not include, say, I'm talking about synchronicity. Say you're thinking about, like Andreas was just like thinking about something, and you know whatever odd,
mm,
an old piece of clothing or something like that with a tag on it, something like this, and then all of a sudden a few days later, that piece of clothing shows up, or any kind of synchronicity kind of thing where it seems like you haven't seen that coat in 20 years. You thought about it 2 days ago, and then all of a sudden it appears. Like, Do you ever get that kind of thing in your story?
Oh yeah, stuff like that seems to happen, but
Awesome.
yeah. Yes, but it's
Awesome.
not, well, I think almost everyone knows this to some degree. It's,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, it's odd because it lends. I'm not lending reality to the story, but it is funny. I mean,
yeah,
it just seems like a prank sometimes to me. It's actually kind of playful in a sense when you get beyond the whole subject object and observer observed, and you see it as this tetherless kind of appearance, um, just kind of appearing just sourceless. It just kind of billows out of nothing, and it almost seems like at times it's just playing a joke. I don't know how to explain it. It's just yeah, but that would, and that's a dangerous place, because all of a sudden then you're starting talking about intelligence, and I don't think that
mm,
the appearance is intelligence. I don't think that it has anything to do with that.
yeah, true. Yeah, you're right. That's why I said, I mean, stuff like that, like the synchronicity or stuff, that's just what happens sometimes. So,
Yeah, it's that simple, isn't it? It just kind of
absolutely.
appears.
Yes,
It
it's
just kind
really
of
that
appears.
simple.
It's that simple. It's so beautiful because it's just
Yes.
that way. It's just the way it is. Um, So, and I think this other question was, insofar as like explaining, somebody asked me the other day, is the only thing that appears or does do appearances appear? And I said, yes, the appearances appear, but existence does not exist, and you can't really define existence, and therefore you can't define what appearances appear within. Would you say that existence does not exist, or would you say it does not exist? Is it
Well,
just words into nothing?
yeah, that's the thing. There is nothing that exists. And
Not even existence.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say so. But the funny thing is, but this is totally illogical, or you can't, no one can go there. But now sitting in front of a screen and talking to each other is in existence, or it's
Yes.
real and unreal. But the thing is, the moment you assume there to be a certain kind of reality, that it is in a certain way, my impression is this assumption can only come from a person, so to speak, or because the person is the sense, the experience of being, which is the experience of there being something which is in a certain way.
Mhm.
But the surprise is, I would say, when this sense drops, this whole idea of there being something, even if you call it a neutral existence or something, can't be
Mhm.
held up, so to speak, this
Yeah.
idea.
You just can't name it. You just can't even name it. You can't. It's not like what we're talking about is within another appearance. It just
That's
there is no. It's not. You can't even say appearance at that level.
exactly, you exactly, totally, absolutely. And you can't even name it because
Yes,
there is no name, because there is no it really,
I
which could
love
or
it.
couldn't be named.
I love
So
it, man. There isn't. I mean, there is no thing appearing as everything. It's like, um, uh, it's it's not anything dimensional. It's everything dimensional and not a dimension, like simultaneously.
simultaneously, yeah, that this would mean this real and unreal. It's simultaneously real and unreal, but no one knows that. And
Yes.
no one experiences real and unreal. So, in that sense, again, these are just empty words which
Well,
don't
well,
really cover how it actually is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But with like let's say the tetherless mind thing, the way that kind of the way I see it, it's almost like at that point when I mean it's not even you thinking, you're kind of writing thought at that. There's just no way to name it. There's no way to it's just not a thing. It's there's no shape. There's no and dimension itself loses it loses its meaning altogether.
Hmm.
In a sense, it appears to be a dimension. However, it's not dimension.
Yes, but no one knows any of this. No one knows that it appears as this, but isn't this, and stuff like that. No, it just is. That's the funny thing. It just is like that. But no one knows what this means.
Well, no one knows it. It's just it's just the we are the how should I mean, we are being can how does that sound? We are being expressed as individuals who cannot know it and try to say it. Or,
Mm.
yes,
Oh, apparently.
yeah, apparently. Um, yeah, I'm pushing it. Uh, well, okay. Insofar as like, say you got friends, and you're out for beers, and you're having dinner. Um, do you speak to them as normal people would speak to each other?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we're oh yeah, that's a my steak is great, this beer is good, I
Yes.
like that
Yeah.
song. It's all just normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay. So we can so just just out of curiosity, can we say appearances is as real as it's ever going to get?
Appearances is as real as.
It's ever going to get for no one.
Yeah, of
It just
course. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Appearances is the reality. The
Totally.
non yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, the
Yeah.
non real appearance of a reality is the reality.
Is the
Um,
natural reality. That's how one could say. That's how it naturally is.
yeah,
Yep.
that's just yeah. It's just not tethered or it's just not based in anything that you can say is definably real,
Yeah.
um, or described as something that is an objectively true.
Yes.
Um, so okay, and then is it real enough for you, Andreas? Are I mean, just on a personal note, I personally love it. I think it's actually, just as far as an appearance, navigating this appearance, um, I think it's beautiful. Um, you got any personal personal take on that? Is the appearance enough?
Yeah, of course. Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's no lack in that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Which is a surprise because it's for no reason.
I
It's
love it.
enough for no reason at all. It's not enough because it's good or holy or leading somewhere or special or no. It's just automatically, blindly, naturally enough. Yep.
Just that, just that is liberating enough for many.
Absolutely. Totally.
Just
That is the
that,
liberation in the end.
yeah. I mean, just that is beautiful because now it's just enough said. I mean, it's just that is liberating enough uh, before you and have you we've already done that. Community parents care. Individual. Okay. Well, that's kind of do you care about other appearances? Say I know there's some non-dual speakers as well as other I guess audience type folks are kind of negative and a little scowly, kind of off-putting, a little abrasive, and maybe sometimes um, it's almost like the Drago from Rocky 3, where he says,
Mm.
if he dies, he dies. I mean, this weird kind of like it's cold almost to a fault, where you don't really
Mm.
need to be that way. I mean, I mean, I don't know. Do you open a door for a lady? Do you help a kid out if they seem like they need a little hand?
Oh, well, so far, yes.
I mean, you don't
Yes, of
have to do
course.
it, but
That's the
yeah,
thing. I mean, caring is what happens, and I care, or Andreas
yeah.
cares as much as Andreas cares. But of course, that's what apparently happens. Oh, yeah, totally. And in that sense, I don't care about how much or how little I care. So
it just kind of, it doesn't have to be,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, this negative, like, like bully kind of, I don't
Ah,
care
no,
about
of
people.
course not.
I
No.
it blows my mind. But in any case, thank you. God, I'm glad I'm.
Mm.
Depends on nothing. The reason to know that knowledge does not exist. We did that. Um, we've done that. Besides, mm, is there? I just matters to the apparent individual. Brain. So you would say that this is completely without mechanism or system.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
There
So
is absolutely no it's not that there is not an explanation, but literally it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't even work on like that, cause and effect or anything.
yes, absolutely. Because it's not even something that happens in the first place. But yeah, there is no dynamic, there is no functional principle like a divine energy or natural laws or oh yeah, of course not. Yeah, there can't be because there is nothing that works.
Yeah.
There isn't a certain kind of reality that functions. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like for me. This is where, like, I talk to some people about it. Yeah, I don't get it, no cause and effect, blah blah blah. And I'll say, well, think of it like this: just look at it as the immediate experience is the totality of existence. I know that immediate experience is a paradox unto itself, but this apparent here and now, this moment, apparent as it is, has no sister particle, say, there is no other point from
Yeah,
which this is happening. And so, because it's not relative to another position, it's not a thing in itself because there's nothing outside of it.
yeah,
And so, it's not a thing. And
yeah.
therefore, everything within it is not relative to anything. It's just one, or it's not even one. It's not two appearing as separate things, undefinable. But yeah, and so it's not a thing that is caused. It's
Yeah,
not happening. It's
absolutely.
not.
Yes.
It's like happening, not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's. Thank you. Is there a system? Does anything? Okay. So this is well. Yeah. So I mean, I think what I'm really happy about is that you seem maybe not as quite as goofy and as and enthusiastic as I did, but it does seem uh, that you do seem to. It's the character that the character Howard is a little lighter. I mean, it's not that like I exist, but my environment appears enlightened in that things seem to not matter or mean
Hmm.
as much. Okay, so it's like I lost the self completely, and that can be terrorizing, traumatizing, and all of that kind of thing. And but when you actually come out of that, as you said, kind of like uprooted and then shoved back in the hole, you realize that everything seems not. It's just so much lighter, and so it's not so much that you are enlightened;
Hmm.
it's that everything is lighter. Everything just
Yeah,
seems easier.
of course. Yes,
Uh,
totally.
so did
That's the unreality in everything, which gives it a sense of kind of fairy tale
yeah.
likeness. That's the
And it is,
likeness.
and literally it becomes that story of like, at that point, it's just telling stories. There's no real. It's not like you're trying to get a message across that must be done at all. That none of that really exists. And what just seems to occur, sometimes people just end up being speakers and talking about it. Some people just go with it and just live their lives. But in reality, or what appears to be reality, is uh, because there's no meaning, reason, or purpose, no mechanism or system, no cause or effect. This moment, as it appears, being the totality for all intents and purposes, is really it's more beautiful and also simultaneously ordinary, completely ordinary. It seems like so much both.
Yeah, I mean, that's a surprise in the end, that beauty and harmony and wholeness is ordinary.
It's so ordinary.
So,
I can understand. I had somebody say the other day, well, I say that in a response, as a response to seekers that ask me, and I thought about saying in response to what, and what are you responding to? But in any case, what I would say, what he was saying was, it's a response to us to seekers asking about, because they think that it's something glorious and this and that, and in a way it is, but in another way, simultaneously, it's completely ordinary.
absolutely.
It's so both.
Mm. Yeah.
The beauty of
And
the wonders.
and when we speak like that, we don't speak about this huge it, which is gorgeous and glorious. It's just sitting here and having this conversation, and what seems to be happening. That is apparently the harmony and the beauty and the ordinariness. There is no it which is ordinary or not. No, it's just this. It's just what seemingly happens.
I saw something the other day. Somebody was asking me about God, and I was telling him, I told him, well, I think it's something akin to both and neither, and something else entirely. I think it's the wrong question, and I don't think I don't think questions exist, and it's just ridiculous. It's subject object, and there's all, but that's not the point. The funniest thing was while I was watching your links. Matt Dillahunty came on. He's an atheist. Anyways, he's a well-renowned atheist, and he's having a debate with a theist. And they're saying, and they both said, well, obviously, we have to agree that things exist. And Matt Dillahunty was like, he's like, oh yeah, I mean that's just ridiculous. I mean, we're not solipsists, we're not non-dualists. Existence exists, correct? And it was like, right there in front of them, you guys are agreeing about a reality.
Yeah.
Before you even start discussing on whether or not it has a God or not, you have to agree upon what it is before you even discuss it.
Yes. Yes.
And absolutely said, oh, it's silly not to think that there are not things. And I just thought, yeah, but you don't know that, do you?
Yeah.
So, let's see, why not? Let's see. Um, where's the descriptions? I got all kinds of pages here, but I think we've covered a lot of this. As the illusion of free will co-appear, yeah. So you'd say that it does appear as if an individual has the illusion of free will, and that is a part of what is already whole and complete. So it's actually like an individual, the appearance of the illusionary self with the free will is also already whole and complete.
Oh yeah, absolutely, totally, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm so glad that we're. I'm
Uh,
so glad I asked the question. Everybody, ask Andreas exactly what you're wondering. You'll be surprised. It's already whole and complete. So everything here and now. So yeah, it's free and simultaneously everything. So you would say that it's free, it's completely anarchistic, it's unknowable, you don't know what's going to happen next, but also it is already.
yeah, it's already unknown. It's not only that I don't know what happens next. In the end, there's already no one there knowing what happens right now.
So would you say that sorry, okay, so it's already
Unknown.
unknown,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that unknown is the whole and the complete and the free and everything.
Yes.
It's just, so that's what it is. So the unknown part is the appearance of the simultaneity
Yes,
of the
exactly.
illusion of the dimension.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
and there automatically is no next because there isn't even a now that's known. So it's timeless. In that sense, it's timeless.
And that's amazing, and I love that because that's something that people brush over quite a bit, but in the appearance of these things, but there is no future, there is no past. And that makes this not a now. It's not a place. It's not a thing. So yeah, it if you just look at time as what it is, it's completely illusionary.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, because the experience of I'm now here, which is the invention of time, I'm now, I exist now, this is happening now, is illusory. It doesn't have any substance.
so do you do you have anything planned for the immediate future? Do you know? Is there? Do you have any? Are you going to go out and have meetings or anything?
Well, yes, I'll have online meetings, and I have started traveling again a bit. So mostly in Europe so far, but who knows? It seems that maybe next year I'll be come to the US again. I've been there a few times before COVID, so and it seems as if this will happen next year. So yeah.
You going to come to the East Coast around North Carolina?
I've been to New York. I've been to California once, but I've been to New York a few times now, and that's probably where I
Yeah.
go back.
Well, LA, the traffic. I'm from LA. The traffic is just horrific,
Yeah,
especially
and
during the days.
it's really much more away, farther away from Germany than the East Coast. It's quite a big
Yeah,
trip.
you got to cross the entire continent.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any books coming out? Do you have any collaborations or anything like that?
Who? No, right now not. I mean, there's a book in the making, but it's in German, so that's probably not interesting for the English-speaking people.
What was that fella calling your accent? You have a German accent. He said, uh, "Did you do you have an accent?"
Yeah, I do have one. It's from the Southwest. I mean, but I can a little bit play with it. It's not too strong, but I have it a little bit. Yeah.
Well, Andreas, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you giving me this time. And I'm telling you, it's just an amazing interview. I've had such a great time, and I hope maybe in another couple of months you can give me another shot at it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much for the interview and the invitation. And oh yeah, we can do it again, of course. Yes, lovely.
Thank you,
I enjoyed it
thank you,
very
Andreas.
much.
All
Lovely.
right, Andreas, thank you so much, man. You made my month. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
Have, right back at you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Love
Bye.
you, man. See
Bye.
ya.